whole area of data, much like we originally touched on digital transformation as well. This whole area of data field is full of buzzwords and abbreviations and acronyms and the rest of it. From where you come from, and maybe we'll start with Joel this time. What are some of the terms that you hear at the moment, or things that are being hotly debated that you're most cautious about, and why?
Well, I mean, there's one. It's not a new one, but it's always sat uncomfortably with me, or I've just thought, the term big data. I've just never really bought into it. I mean, I get what it is and why it's described, and the various V-word adjectives that go around to describe it. But I just think it's still data. I mean, describing it now as big data I think people just need to sit back a bit and just say it's just the way data is nowadays, because there is so much more of it and so many more systems, and it can be created in different ways, and Web 2.0 and Web 3, and it's going to keep coming. It's more just a kind of a neo-modern description of data. So I'm not a big fan of the term big data, although I get why it's there.
David, what's yours?
Oh, well, there's a term going around at the moment, and Stuart's going to smile at this because we talked about it the other week, which I thoroughly enjoy. But all I'm going to say is that when it comes to something such as data mesh, and when you see people's advertising around that, then always look at it and just see if you can substitute the word magic for the actual term at hand. And then, if it still makes sense and is perfectly plausible in exactly the same way as previously, then probably you need to think more about the topic. That would be my favourite one of the moment.
I do remember that conversation.
and I'm sorry it's that particular one, but I've still not got my head around what people think that is.
Stuart, what's yours then?
Yeah, I mean, both of those. I mean, big data. My dad used to say to me, it's not big and it's not clever. And just because it's big, it's not clever. And I'm kind of going, yeah, do you know what? That applies to data as well. You can have as much data as you like. If you're not driving any insight from it, frankly, who cares, right? It's just a number. I think data people have a bit of a bad habit, right? And I'll stick my hand up and say I'm probably I fall into that category, because we have a habit of taking a term, putting data in front of it, not being able to consistently explain to non-data literate folk what we mean by it, and then wondering why we feel a bit misunderstood. So you kind of go, oh, it's not condition, it's data condition, or it's not value, it's data value, or it's not governance, it's data governance. And you go, actually, why would you expect a non-data literate person to really understand? Actually, if I go and speak to most of my associates in the data world, would we all agree over what data governance really means? No, we could have a 53-hour conversation about it and still not come out with the answer. So we kind of our own thing. But the one thing that really is driving me senselessly nutty is data mesh at the minute. It's very Emperor's new clothes. It's a massive bit of marketing bingo. It seems to require a bottomless pit of money and an endless supply of patience and some technologies that haven't even been invented yet to do some things that we've been trying to do for years, which is how do I integrate my data more effectively? But the thing that really drives me insane with it is that it misses, even if you could solve all the technical issues with it, it doesn't address the critical problems of do you know what the value of your data are? Do you understand what you're trying to achieve with it? And do you understand what your data means? How is it defined? Do you really understand it? That's all supposed to be self-governing. I have never seen anything self-govern, data or otherwise, ever. It just doesn't happen. So at the moment, whole conferences on it. I mean, David and I were at one the other day. I came out of the data mesh conversation. I've been in data, integration for a very long time, and I was more confused when I came out of it, and I had to go and read some books to kind of work out what this lady was talking about. And I genuinely came out of it thinking, no, I actually do prefer. And every time I see the word data mesh, I can just hear David saying magic. And yeah, absolutely.
Sorry for
Great,
that, but I can, sorry, but I can also chip in self-documenting when it comes to things, as well as
Yes.
self-integrating and self-governing. So yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Graham, have you got any other terms, or do you want to lay into data mesh as well?
Just on self-documenting, I tell you what, I remember seeing a self-documenting, and it was just garbage. I mean, just it was written by a 3-year-old, I think, the quality of it. No, I'm afraid I would maybe not quite a severe go at mesh and fabric, because I did actually have to recently Google what is the difference, and there is somebody has almost produced like a side-by-side comparison. You go, oh, is that it? It's a bit like upgrading to an iPhone 14 when you've got an iPhone 13. There's like a couple of little things and a bit of a fundamental maybe, but there's very little different. It's just a bit of a fundamental about how it operates, etc.
Isn't fabric Gartner and mesh not Gartner? That's the way I understood it to be, but I might be wrong.
You're being harsh there, Stuart. I've been a bit harsh there.
Do apologize.
But no, I think, and I certainly would mention the G word, that they do overly hype stuff, and then the vendors jump on the back of it. I did actually see a presentation. I don't think it was the one that that Dave and Stuart were talking about. A presentation on it at a large media company has put it in place. I think they've done it for good reasons, which is they're trying to make better use of data. They would spend 3 years, 5 years building something physical, cloud, whatever. So actually, they're going down the mesh route. But even the consultants that co-presented with them, when someone asked them a question, can you show me an architecture? They said no. Why not? It's not, why would you not show us the architecture and the tools and things, vendors that you've used and integrated for this company? No, we can't do it. And I kept impressed. And eventually they said, we'll have a private conversation afterwards. It's like, really? So you can't show an architecture for the implementation of mesh at this very large media company? But you'll do it on a one-on-one basis privately, which made me suspicious that it
requires you to pay.
Yeah, I think the other thing they've done is, which I think is clever, it may backfire, which is they've identified sort of individual use cases, and they're sort of picking them off, saying, right, so this use case, and they talked about it from this use case is to be able to send CRM alerts, blah blah blah. Next one is to be able to do operational stuff, to do this. So they've got a whole series of things they want to do. And the advantage to them is, I think, they're decommissioning manual, antiquated, broken things. And so they're just saying, well, over time, and it's, I think it was quite a long time, they'll move everything across. Now, whether it works or they find, that mesh doesn't work for them, I would say they did seem to have quite a strong governance, and the guy leading the whole sort of enterprise I've sort of known at previous organizations has quite a strong governance bone. So maybe they'll be the success. I think for lots of others, they're just seeing it as a something to jump on. Means we don't have to put all our data in one place. We can do this mesh thing, can't we? And that solves it. Job done.
Great.